Well, good day, everybody. You're, back on the couch with me, Bram Lagrou here. And today I'm addressing particularly financial planners. Guys, you are in for a treat. Let me just welcome here my good friend and colleague, Mr. Arthur Kallos. Please welcome to the stage.
Thank you, Bram. Pleasure to be here with you.
Great to have you here. I know that you're always a very busy man, Arthur. So why don't we just get started and fill people in a little bit on what you do and, that sort of stuff, who you are.
Yeah, thank you, Bram. And hi, everyone. So Arthur Kallos is my name. I look after Spark Financial Group. So Spark Financial Group, I founded back in 2017. And essentially, we're a licensing business to financial planners around the country. We have over 80 authorised reps across two licenses, Axis and Order Wealth, and under the control of Spark Financial Group. And what Spark Financial Group is essentially a shared services business or a business services model, driving solutions into those advisors sitting on our licenses. So that's what I do for the main part of my day. I also have my own wealth management firm called Spark Advisory, which I'm the managing director of. And we have offices across Melbourne, Sydney and Brisbane. And so that's my own financial planning practice. And I have a mortgage arm as well, Spark Financial Hub, with the one office in Melbourne. So that's my financial services interests.
Gosh, that definitely already keeps you busy just from, all your licensees, all your staff, all your clients, yeah? And then you've still got a family.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got, a wife of over 15 years, Leah, and three awesome kids, Marcus, William, and Sophia, and a little toy cavoodle, Cooper.
Oh,
so
and as you said earlier before we started, he's the top dog, right?
Yeah, see, he gets his way. He's got his way with everyone, that's for sure.
Oh, fantastic. I've definitely met him and he was hard to shake off.
Very loving, yes.
Yeah. Oh, we love our pets, I've got my rabbit here at home and I call him my furry friend.
Yes, a furry friend, yeah. No, it's good to have a little companion with you. Like we've been, obviously with the head office in Melbourne for our business, our staff members have been, working from home and, contending with the challenges. And, as a business, you try and look after your employees in the best of, in normal times. But in times like this, it is unprecedented. And so just all the extra activity, little spot, rewards, gift cards, Uber Eats, meals, and just like that, just to keep the engagement and mindset right. Yep. Just to ensure that, our clients being our financial services authorized representatives and our financial planning clients are getting the best of us, not letting it get on top of us. And I'm not immune. I've got, my little furry friend keeping me company and keeping me positive at home. So he's made a big difference. So yeah, it's good to have a little friend hanging by you whilst you're doing probably, six Zoom sessions a day. So.
Yeah, because one thing that people don't necessarily know who will be watching this video is, you have got your head office in Melbourne, but you actually live in Adelaide. So that's
right. Yeah. So I'm a commuter, and we actually have an office in Brisbane as well. So I'm a regular commuter, and unfortunately, due to the circumstances, I haven't been able to get back to Melbourne, and so eagerly awaiting an update, to get back and get in front of the team. But I guess the way it's running at the moment, it doesn't look anytime soon, unfortunately. And before we know it, we'll be into the Christmas period. So it might be just a January, or hopefully a January 2021 thing.
Yeah, well, we keep our fingers crossed and touch wood, as we say in Down Under.
A bit more intelligent than that, mate. Give me some bit of credit. Come
on. Now, Arthur, you're also the author of several books, and there's one particular one that I just like to bring to people's attention, which is called The Spark. Tell us a little bit more about you, what led you to writing that book, and who it actually may benefit, because of course that really goes into your why, your purpose, what you're here for, and why you've designed this business the way you did.
Yeah, thank you. I don't really market the book. I kind of use it as a introductory marketing solution or tool to provide to people that want to understand, who I am. Because the book contains a host of chapters that link into what do I stand for and what I believe is important to have in business. And so the motivation behind writing that book, I probably had my Jerry Maguire moment a few years ago. And, is when I started, when I was about to commence Spark. And I thought it was really important that if I was going to go out to the marketplace and announce that we're here to help and we're going to be offering a point of difference to financial advisors around the country, I thought it was very important to share my story so that if people wanted to know, well, who's Arthur Kallos and, what's he, promoting as, how's he promoting himself as an Australian financial services licensee, really started with no advisors. It was a big leap of faith. And so really the purpose of the book was to kind of release a lot of my, emotion, having, navigated through the financial services industry over the course of that period of time, just over 15 years. And, not without its hard knocks, definitely plenty of those, but also a lot of important lessons. Mm. And I just wanted to share my story to give people an insight as to who I am and what I'm all about, and how I found or invigorated my spark to commence Spark. And so I really wanted to channel that message out to financial advisors at an interesting point of time, because I saw the tide turning, which is why I started this business model, because I felt that there would be an industry turnaround led by the advisors, moving away from the institutional vertical models that had that employed them, and essentially was creating a system that was leading them down the path where they felt uncomfortable, to the point where they felt they weren't acting in their client's best interest. And to take the same leap of faith and do something about it and contribute positively back to everyday Australians looking for good financial planning or good advice, and to have the courage to take that leap. And so that book was really motivated behind telling my story, B, giving people the reinvigorating their spark and say, you've got a choice. Like, you can continue the way you are, or you can work with us and we'll help you achieve your dream, which is to run your own financial services practice. And that's essentially what it was. So lo and behold, a year or so later, we had the Royal Commission. And so those models pretty much came undone. And so we were a bit of a front runner to catch that wave in that early piece. And so we were pretty successful in growing from pretty much a zero advisor base to about 30 authorized reps in that first 18 months.
Wow, congratulations.
Actually, 17, 18. Yeah, actually a little bit less, about 15 months. We started in October 2017. So by the end of 2018, that's kind of where we were. So yeah.
So yeah, 3 years into it now, and boasting 80-odd planners, which is wonderful. And I think it's really important that you make it clear to our viewers that there's the institutional side of things, and there's the boutique-like sort of shared service model that you have. So can you quickly somehow make that difference very clear, please?
Yeah, it's we grew to that number through an acquisition at the beginning of this year as well, and we've been working diligently to kind of harmonise the two AFSLs to be on the same advice platform. We're on the tail end of that now, and I really should call out to all our advisors in our both AFSLs and working with us to harmonise. And so we've got everyone on the same platform pretty much now. People do ask, how do you find the time to be so personable with all your advisors? And it's true, like our target state isn't really to grow to hundreds and hundreds of advisors. What we're looking for is to work with 80 excellent practices led by excellent financial advisors, and if they are already business owners, but also helping great financial planners become, great business owners as well. It is a different skill set. So you might have the technical aptitude and understand, the financial planning, value chain. But as a business owner, we're always learning. There's never a day that I don't learn something new. And so that's kind of the important differential there around being boutique. You can only remain boutique if that's your capacity, 80. And so I'm pretty hands-on with all the principles. Some invite me to get more involved in their business around strategy and looking at their marketing strategy, their financial plan, essentially for the business, to recruitment, to helping them develop their client value propositions and segmentation models, which is very poignant right now, given the changes looming. 1 Jan, potentially that also might be pushed out, but there's a lot of change happening. So whilst they're working on their clients, they need a helping hand to help them work on the business. Otherwise, they're either not, or they're bringing an external consultant in to do it, and costing even more funds. So we kind of bake that into our service proposition. That's part. Yeah.
So it's not just about providing the license and providing the compliance and potential access to paraplanners. It's more holistic and really working on all the different angles that a business requires. So leadership, business acumen, all of that sort of stuff too, right? Yeah,
I think, to be a successful business owner, financial planner today, you could probably illustrate a pie graph that you need skills, and those skills could be, beginner level, intermediate level, and advanced. And so, your financial planning knowledge, for instance, I would say you'd hopefully be at least intermediate or advanced before commencing your own financial planning practice. But your business acumen might be beginner because you've never run a business before. So, and then all of a sudden you might start recruiting staff. And so how do you look after people, leadership skills? So, all those aspects are important in running a successful business, let alone a financial planning business. And so what Spark is offering is solutions to kind of tick the pieces of the pie. Essentially the model we have is an integrated model that delivers all the financial planning solutions that you need, but also, helping you build a successful business.
And that is a great segue into a next question then, Arthur, which is knowing, you alluded already to all the changes that have been happening and that continue on to impact the industry. What do you actually see now being the biggest challenges that the industry is facing?
Our industry has taken an absolute beating, unfortunately, because of the actions of a minority. There's plenty of great individual planners and any financial planners watching this video, doing a great job for your clients and contending with the challenges in today's environment, let alone a pandemic. I really take my hat off to you all and say to you all, keep doing a great job and look after your clients and stay true to label, and don't forget the reason why you started the journey. And if you lose your, sorry, I've got to say the spark, by all means, grab a copy of the book and have a read, because it will help, reconnect you and take you full circle, just like I did. And sharing that story, it might help you, potentially re-engage, because with all the different dynamics flying at financial advisors today, Bram, for me to give you a succinct answer, it's just not possible. There's just so many things, so Royal Commissions is implementing a host of a raft of changes. And so, it's all these, how do advisors navigate through, noise and what to pay attention to. So either if they're self-licensed, they're pretty much left to their own devices, or they've got, they're tapping into various service providers, or if they're an authorized representative on a business model such as ours, it's our job to deliver, what's important, what's not urgent, and so helping them, navigate through that is very important, because everything's important, right? So you need someone to give you the channel the right messages. But today's environment is very different to what it was 3 years ago. You've got compression of margins, particularly around insurance, and so a lot of the advisors were subsidising the cost of advice through insurance commissions, and that's through the life insurance reform has reduced the maximum amount an advisor could earn from such an outcome. And so I'm not going to get into the views whether commissions or not, but at the end of the day, a lot of the practices were relying on that margin. That's now been halved.
So the business model really that revolves around it, right?
Well, risk management and protection it really should be at the platform. I mean, any kind of financial plan has to address risk management, so that if clients are growing their wealth, you don't want them to regress should an unfortunate event occur. And you've seen sweeping changes in the life insurance space around the providers reshaping their portfolios and repricing. And even modifying the inclusions and I guess the span that insurance covers, even in the income protection space right now. And so it's for Australians to access quality insurance solutions. You've got to motivate the advisors. If they're not motivated because the outcomes creates a lot of work and a cost to serve that is greater than the outcome, you got a problem there, don't you? So when I say motivate the sellers in a positive way, like any business, no matter what they're selling, providing a service in, they're not going to deliver a service that costs greater than what the reward is. I mean, that's any industry and any business, and that's what a lot of the advisors have been confronted with today. So compressing margins, and you've also got greater requirements to comply. So enhanced compliance measures around documents for advice for clients. The licensees obviously expecting tighter regime on their advisors demonstrating best interest duty, etc., etc. All for good reason, but again, it's the end client that's going to end up paying for it, because if the cost rises in any business in any industry is going to increase their prices. And so the unfortunate aspect of what's happened over the course of the last 3-4 years is that due to the cost of advice increasing, the affinity for advice and the consumer buy-in is regressing. And so the whole purpose of our industry is to help everyday Australians achieve their financial goals and their dreams. But we're in this tension point right now where, everyday Australians can't access advice. And that's the unfortunate predicament that we're in. And so, we're not immune to it as a license. We need to deliver the services and do our best to use our scale to help reduce these costs. And so that the financial planning practices can work through, this period of time. I do think technology, and I'm big on tech, as all my advisors will know, it has to be the solution, and we have to embrace technology to make practices' lives easier, to be able to deliver their value propositions to their clients on a lower cost platform, to maintain their clients in ongoing advice services, and also attract new clients to buy advice services. And so technology has to have a massive role, but the changes have come so quick. To reskill yourself as an advisor that's been practicing for years in a certain way, it takes time. It's not just, here's a new piece of technology. It's easy, right? No, it's not easy. Some planners some of their advisors need their hands held. some advisors just don't want to know about it. Like they just want to, stick their head in the ground and, but it's confrontational when you've got to make sweeping changes in your business, change your whole operating platform in a level of speed faster than what's coming at you, because the changes that's come at us has moved pretty quick, and many are caught behind.
Yep.
And to add to that, you've got all these new requirements for advisors to meet minimum education standards, and thankfully the requirement to pass the FASEA exam was pushed out another 12 months, because there was, at a point in time, I think there was many advisors that hadn't even sat yet. I think across the industry, we only had about 40% sit or 50% sit. So for me, it's like, if I was an advisor, I sat mine in December 2019 and passed, first attempt, which was great. So the point I'm trying to make is, midpoint this year, had you not sat before the update to extend the exam, it's like, well, what are you waiting for? This is it's so interesting to see. It's like the industry is like paralyzed a little bit at the moment with all the stuff that's happening, and so
too much stuff on their plate,
licensees out there. Sorry, mate.
Too much stuff on people's plate, really.
It's just so much, So like I said to you before, it's like, as a licensee, our job is to say these are the things that are important. Like, got to do it, and these ones can kind of wait. But at the moment, it's like everything's important, So I think I've just talked about, compressing margins, and embracing new methods, ways of doing things. That's a big shift. That needs training, needs support, needs time. And it's like, it's like the saying I have. It's, the belief without the proof. It's like, you got to believe that this will work, but you've never done it before, so you've got no proof. So it's all this apprehension, just stalling.
So with that being said, Arthur, I think it's a really good way to now look at from a more positive side of things, like in terms of opportunities. What do you see as being the biggest opportunities? I think you started talking about it, but if you kindly again can structure, like knowing all that and all the noise and all the complexities and the challenges on the plate, what are now the things to focus on to navigate the waters and come out on the other side in a good way?
Yeah, I've got to be careful the way I answer that, Bram, because I've got to respect the practitioners that have been in this industry for over 30 years, longer than what I have.
Your view, your personal view.
If I had a magic wand, it was like, I feel like we've got the right solutions here, and I wish everyone could, let alone our business, embrace them immediately, the whole industry.
Which is what specifically?
I'll get there. I'm really patient. There's I'll wind it back a bit, and there's a good a great guy out there called Michael McQueen. He's a social researcher and an award-winning author. And not to steal the quote and the concept, it's actually his. He calls it the battle for relevancy, right? And if you've got 20 minutes spare and you look up Michael McQueen and look at his material, it's evergreen. He's produced this probably back in 2012, I reckon, 2013.
So just for everybody to understand, evergreen means?
It doesn't age. Like you. You look the same way you did 10 years ago when I first met you, bro.
Thank you very much. I'm just looking at McQueen.
Yeah, he's got some great material, and he's, the battle for relevancy is more than ever the challenge that the financial advisors in this country face today. And so, it's called like the relevance curve is another concept. And so it talks about, multi-million-dollar businesses in the US like Borders, they hit their certain peak, but they had a very, very fast decline because they didn't embrace technology.
Yep. Good point.
Yeah. I think Kodak is another example. They actually had the patent for the digital camera, would you believe?
Yes.
Something like that.
That is,
yeah, something like that. But they wanted to stay with film. You
And then
know,
the internet, same with Nokia. I mean, there's tons of these.
yeah, right.
And then, poof.
Boom. That's where we're at right now.
Mm.
Yeah. So when I say with all due respect to the advisors, that's very confronting if you've been doing certain things for a very long time, for 30 years, in your, you know, in the more like latter years of your career, and you've got to meet all these new extra education requirements. It's like, you know, it's like someone bringing your time forward.
It's true.
And you're put into a corner, and you're going, I don't want to, but I kind of have to. I don't know how to. So you know, that's an important thing I want to call out. For others, the change is probably easier because, you know, they're a bit younger, they've got more time, you know, it's a longer game. So your question is, you know, what are the exciting bits? My take on it is, unfortunately, for these reasons, there's going to be a further regression on advisor numbers.
Mm-hmm.
We're very fortunate, maybe not so much at the moment with what's happening, but, you know, Australia is a very, very affluent country.
Mm.
And so we've got very, very affluent, like a dispersion of affluency across this country. You know, if you were to kind of break it up in tiers, there's a good amount of affluency in this country that would have an affinity for financial advice. So that's not going to change in the medium or long term. You know, it's probably a bit erratic, or, you know, there's probably a bit of a lack of consumer confidence at the moment, because, you know, to plan for your future is like you're looking ahead, but people are looking at the now, right now. So the mindset may not be there, but in the medium to long term, that will come back into balance with less advisors.
Mm.
And so the opportunity is that for those that can, you know, hang in, roll with the punches that exist today, but also start implementing the technology and the approach to be relevant tomorrow, there's massive opportunities, I believe.
Mm.
So it's just, you know, normal demand and supply. So I think supply, you know, for advisors is going to decrease. The demand will stabilize and come back into those, you know, those normal levels in the medium term. And so, you know, if you've got that, you know, if you've worked on your business and you got yourself right, then you're going to have great opportunity. But, you know, what's going to make the difference? And I personally believe that there's probably two or three things that planners need to really, really focus on now, and make sure they're communicating that correctly to their existing clients, mm-hmm. and anyone else that they, you know, trying to track through their various, you know, channels. And so number one, it's to have a clearly defined client value proposition. You know, it gets thrown around a lot. Everyone says, well, yeah, CVP, you know. But actually, have you sat it down, costed it out? What are the services that you're going to include? A, from a compliance or legislative requirement, because, you know, your service benchmarks now to be included into the annual services agreement, which is going to come into about. So you're literally having to resell yourself to your client base every year. Mm-hmm. Whereas before, it was like an opt-in basis every 2 years. So what's going to happen is every ongoing service client that you've got, you have to renegotiate or redocument every year to earn their custom and deliver the services. And in the past, it was, I delivered these and therefore I earned what I earned. Now it's going to be, we're going to recontract, and moving forward, this is what I'm going to deliver. And then the client can either say yes or no. So having that clearly defined value proposition, having the skill set to execute, convert it.
And probably also communicate that, convey that.
Communicating it, you know. So it's one thing to have it documented, but what, you know, what's the value exchange? Does your client see the value in it? Mm. I'm no different. It's like my financial planners are clients. I've got my own value proposition. And, you know, absolutely, there's so much going on. How do you effectively communicate the value exchange between their dollar and your service? Mm. So CVP, communication, very, very important. Client experience, I think, is what's going to make or break. And so it's one thing to communicate your CVP and then they buy in, but then what's the client experience for the next 12 months?
Yep.
You know, so how do you delight your customers?
Yep.
So, I think, client experience is also the other one. And offer technology platform. I mean, how do you include technology to help you deliver that client experience correctly, scalably, and efficiently, so that you, A, keep the cost down, but also get the reach. So including technology solutions to help you do that, so that you can hold a certain client base of a critical mass that allows you to combat the compressing margins to produce sustainable profits for your business, so that you're in business for your clients next year.
Right.
Yeah, so I reckon those are the three things that advisors, look, actually, not just financial advisors, any business owner has to focus on.
Yep. Fantastic. Let me have a quick look here. So you've kind of already said what you see as solutions. This is an interesting question. You've obviously been in business now for 15 years, let's say in the industry, in your own business now for 3 years. You've been in banking at the higher level.
20 years in the industry.
There you go. So a long time. Now, obviously now looking back, you got your 20 year of experience behind you. I would love to know, like, knowing what you now know, if you were to kind of be able to come in as a little genie out of a bottle, coming back to your younger self when you started off, what would be your piece of advice to him then?
Probably be a lot more patient than what I was in my younger years. I think I don't know how to. I don't think I would have done much different. I think the way it happened, I ended up where I was meant to be, but I had to go through the journey to get here. And so I think what I could have done is probably understood myself, my own self-awareness, probably at a younger age, was a little bit lacking. I was trying to achieve a goal that wasn't mine, or trying to achieve a set of goals that I felt I needed to, because I needed to appease a certain audience. And what that did was take me down a journey which was getting me further away from who I wanted to be, because I didn't really understand the environment that I was growing into. And so that environment wasn't really, I just wasn't one with that environment. So self-awareness and understanding the environment that you're in and making sure that you're aligned, I think, is a very, very important lesson. And so I kind of grinded it out for a long time. I've kind of had this internal battle because I wanted to achieve an outcome following that line that just wasn't possible, because I was, in that line in banking, you got to toe the line or you just don't fit. And it took me a long while to realize that. But I think what happened when you amass certain skills and your competency and your abilities, I think sometimes you outgrow those models and you're just destined to do something that's for your own, because you've got the ability and the courage to. And that's not to say these people in this business have no courage. They might enjoy it, or they don't want to have their own, I guess, personal brand out there in the marketplace. They may not be comfortable with it. I always had an ambition to, I think deep down inside, I knew I wanted to start my own business one day, but I just didn't understand or have the platform or see the gap. And so it was like I amassed all the skills and the knowledge, and the timing was just right. Motivation more than ever as well, because I felt like the industry was going in a certain direction back in the 2010s and the 11s, that was moving in a certain direction, because I was working for one of the majors, and I just didn't feel comfortable. And so it was like that internal battle, and it was flying in your face to say, well, if you don't agree with it, opt out. But I was trying to change it. How do you change that? How do you change that momentum? You just can't. Someone bigger and stronger than I am had to, and that was the regulator, and that's what changed it. But I had opted out, and I had to start again, hit kind of rock bottom, rediscover yourself, reconnect with yourself, and start again in what you're passionate about. And to share the story, I actually went back to the family business, which is a fast food business. So I went from working in senior management in the majors to serving fast food at 3 a.m. in the morning. But it was there that I actually learned my life's greatest lessons, because, you're kind of like exposed, you're vulnerable, and, you truly find out who you are, what you're about. And that's when I, started again.
Great.
And
if I can pause you there for just a brief moment, I love that story about your dad's kebab shop. Tell
so lucky, kebab shops, lucky shop.
share with the viewers here, please, briefly. Your dad went away overseas to attend to family matters in Greece. You were in the business, and you just changed a whole lot of things around. And the result of that, tell him, like, when he left, came back so many months later, what had happened in the business? What was the tornado after doing?
Transformational. He got angry. He got very angry at me. Because I came in and changed everything.
Like what?
Well, yeah. So basically, Dad had a platform. He didn't understand that he had this massive brand platform and a massive clientele, having traded there and for many years. It was like it's famous in Adelaide, or infamous more.
Still is.
And yeah. And so he had to go away. His brother was dying, and I wasn't working at the time. And he's come up to me, he's one guy owning a shop, working 100 hours a week. And he goes, my brother's not well. And I go, Uncle's not well. He goes, no. I go, well, you got to go and see him. He goes, well, who's going to look after the shop? I wasn't working at the time. I said, well, I'm here. I'll help you out. So, after a few days of reskilling, because I hadn't been in the shop since I was a teenager, we got him his tickets and had to organise on the passport. Like, he hadn't been back to Greece in over 20 years. And he was off. Anyway, I'm sitting in this shop, kind of, day 3, I'm staring out to the jetty road down the beach in Adelaide. And I'm going to myself, man, this guy, he can do it so much better. So I rang Mum, who was with him in Greece. I said, listen, I'm going to make a few changes. And she goes, do it now before we get back. All right, good. So at the time, the food trucks were, the hit thing. He wasn't on the internet, with no website. So I just launched the social media. I launched the website. I started physically renovating the shop. We had an audience up the street, because they know how crazy my dad is, right? And they knew it was the son that had come back, and they're going, "Oh my God!" It was like a show.
Yeah,
it was like a show.
Reality
You get this food truck built. So I got the food truck into all the festivals, the Calypso 500, the Adelaide Oval, and this thing's just around the clock. So your shops, everyone's interested again. We did sponsorships, like the flow through the shop just went through the roof. And then you got this mobile billboard and this truck running around Adelaide, selling, Euros to everyone, nightclubs, you park out in front of the nightclub. And so it was just about getting your product to the market. It's no different. Every business has got the same dynamics. It's what's your value proposition? How are you going to take your product to the market? How are you going to promote? It's all the fundamental things. So you don't need to have the experience I had in the bank to know that. Many of us know that, but how do you actually sit down and deliver it? So I kind of poured all these things I learned over my time, and I poured it into this little business. And the thing turned, like 3 months, it was like a completely different business. The bank account looked completely different. The shop looked different. The movement of the shop was different. But Dad came back and he had a fit. So I think he was more upset that he couldn't maintain or get it to that point. Like, a bit of a dent on maybe his ego, but it was all like help him and obviously help me, because I needed the shop to produce to replace my income.
Yep.
But it was all there. So it's a matter of just getting in there and unlocking it all. And it was then I thought to myself, well, what if I can help more small business owners? What if I can pour all my knowledge and passion and energy and help, other business owners improve their business or even start their business? And that's when I kind of parked it in my mind, is I'm going to come back one day and I'm going to solve that problem, because that's when I thought the industry was heading away from the single planner practice. And so I thought, I want to help that person running a financial planning practice, doing their best, helping their clients, helping them, helping feed their families. How do I help that person? And so it took some time to kind of, get away from the shop and, go full circle. Ended up working in another financial services firm and worked more in that IFA space to understand, those models and those dynamics. And then, got another employment for an AFSL with a credit license. So I understood licensing and etc. And then in that period of like 4 or 5 years, that's when I took a leap of faith and started Spark. So that's the book in a nutshell. There's a bit more in it. Yeah.
And it's a great book. So for anyone who's just really kind of in that sort of reinventing space where you find that you're coming out from one chapter, moving into another, really, literally, this book is phenomenal. The Spark is the book. We'll make sure that people will have a link where they can actually download a copy. I personally loved it, and many people that I know, including myself, just read it in pretty much one single go because it's just so.
Yeah, it's pretty easy read.
So, yeah, and very enticing. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
it's very personable as well.
Couple hours. Sorry, mate.
It's very personable as well. I think, especially in an industry which can be very institutional, very corporate, and all of that, which is deprived from personal connections and personality. I think you're definitely really always take out that personal flair, which is personable and, reassuring and just also honest and transparent and not trying to always be perfectly scripted like any corporate beast will try to be. You just call things out for what they are. And I think that's refreshing in the industry. Thank you,
mate. Yeah, I think, small business owners that have been around for a little while can kind of see through that stuff. So yeah, you're the treated label, and like you said, transparent and people will engage with you. And I think that's what we've been able to do here. It's being able to attract and retain our advisors. Not to say that we're perfect. There's always ways we can improve. To say that every advisor in our business is absolutely static with us wouldn't be the case. We're doing our best, but I think there's such a mix of emotion going right now. It's pretty hard to stay positive in this industry. So like I said before, I commend everyone for doing their best and staying on the journey and not to forget why they started and to reconnect with that. And thank you, Bram, for the compliment.
Oh, well, it's well earned. You, every person I talk to that has been dealing with you for a number of years always speaks very highly of you, and it just goes to show what type of leader you are and how you deal with people and how you look after them. So it's I love this. I'm going to move over to the next question for you. What's the best 3 pieces of advice to give planners that want to crush it, given today's turbulent environment?
Yeah, I think I just answered it before. It's first of all, probably the other one would be reconnect with your purpose. There's plenty of material flying around about it, but it's so true. It's if you don't wake up in the morning and know your why, that's been thrown around at all. But you've got to have that connection with the work that you do, and surround yourself with people that have that same connection and collaborate. I think that's really important. It's we've lost that collaboration because we're a bit fragmented as an industry right now. So it's really important, for all the advisors to collaborate with other advisors, and to learn and grow with like-minded professionals out there. The other ones will be, like I said before, it's your marketing strategy, the CVP, the communication of it, and being able to then take that into not only clients that you're trying to attract, but other members of other industries that you're looking to work with their clients. If you don't have that clearly articulated and part of your narrative and able to communicate it successfully, you're not going to get referrals, and you're not going to retain your clients, and you're not going to get referrals from clients. So I think that's really, really important as well.
Fantastic.
And obviously the third one being the technology component.
Definitely. I know that you're big on that one as well, and definitely it makes a difference. It streamlines processes.
It has to be the answer, because You got to replace, the human aspect creates the error and the compliance issues potentially. Is how do you eradicate that? And at the same time, the cost is very, very different. And so technology is emerging, and so it's about embracing them and working with a business partner such as us that I was going to take a leadership role in that and introduce. And sometimes you've got to drag people through to get the change through. Some people just buy in straight away, but you've got to, like I said, if you're not clearly communicating why we're doing it all the time, it's going to have a slow take-up rate. We've injected some new technology to Spark, and we're kind of 2/3 of the way there, getting the advisors to implement this new piece of technology. We've got another third of our footprint still to go. It's taken 2 months. It's not you send out the instructions on how to do it. Not everyone just folds straight in, right? You got to repeatedly go back. And a wise person once told me when I was working in the bank, he's like, Arthur, you're always charging forwards. You got to pause sometimes and look behind you, make sure your people are still there. So it's kind of like you got to go forwards, and then you got to pause, go around the back, and keep everyone going. Okay, let's go again. But you need leadership in this environment, and I hope all my peers, all the licensees out there, are doing as best as they can, and my kudos goes out to them as well, because I know the challenges that they're facing. So I want to congratulate all those organisations doing their best for their advisors. And in essence, even though we run separate, arguably competing businesses, at the end of the day, we're all trying to achieve the one outcome, which is to make sure that our advisors are equipped to provide good and sound financial advice to Australians.
Yep, fantastic. So let's now just go look at the big picture for a moment. There's Spark Financial Group, which is the dealer group, which provides the license. There's Spark Advisory, which is your own financial planning firm that deals with people looking after their wealth and that sort of stuff. Then there's also Spark Tank Coaching. And you mentioned earlier the pie chart. Explain us a little bit what Spark Tank Coaching is about and how it helps, particularly financial planners, weather the storm and get through it, along with the pie chart as such that we can talk about, and potentially also provide some information about in the link below.
Yeah, look, I as I always do, I sit up at night staring at problems and trying to work out solutions. And what I realised is, and this is a big problem as well around how do we inject new entrants into the industry. That's going to be a big gap. And so the practices that we look after, and any practice for that matter, has to grow so that they can attract new entrants into the industry, because new entrants used to come in through the major institutions, so A&P and the banks. And so they all had programs to develop and deploy new entrants into planning practices, and incentivize them too. So the A&P of the world used to have like an incentive model to take cadets or trainees out of the Horizons program and put them into planning practices around the country, and that's gone. Yep. The intent of the program was fantastic though, and has brought in many, many fantastic financial advisors. So the question is, where's this all going to come from if that machine is not there anymore, and the larger organisation? So it's left with us, the business owners. And so I thought, well, how are we going to help the business owners become not just everyday business owners, but great, fantastic leaders and business owners? And so I thought, they need training, they need coaching. And so I had a thought about, well, what if I could create a little team that had a diverse set of skills and a connection with the audience, being the financial advisors or financial services professionals. And so that's when I thought, well, with Bram, and having worked with you many years ago, the energy you bring, the positivity that you bring, and the skills that you bring and the tools that you've got, I thought, you know what, I think the time is now, because I know that you and I have been talking for a little while about doing something together, and it's all about timing. And so that's when I pick up the phone and say, Bram, it's time. And you're like, well, and it took 6 years or 7 years. And so, yeah.
First didn't even get what you were about. Like, so time for what?
It's time. And you're like, what? And I said, it's time, but it is time. Now's the time. And so we've got to help and offer these solutions. So I thought, well, I'm going to put a team together. So I thought of yourself. And I had some dealings with Kylie Denton and her programs that she has, and I've actually used some of her programs with some of our advisors, and they're excellent. And so I thought that she would also bring a great skill set to the team. So we assembled a team with myself, Bram Lagrou, Kylie Denton. The collaboration is Spark Tank Coaching, and I guess our mission is to help train and develop and grow business owners become great leaders with the skills that they need to grow their people, multiply their people, grow their business, etc. So in terms of that pie chart, so to speak, we've kind of broken it up into 6 areas. But the major 3 that we're kind of focusing on is obviously the leadership aspect, the business acumen, and also your aspect, Bram, is the
sales mastery,
communication aspect as well, the sales mastery. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So we all got a piece of that pie. So from a financial planning, business acumen, that's where I come into the piece, and I can assist businesses beyond. And then we've got yourself in the sales mastery and the communication piece, and then we've got Kylie with the leadership piece, and then the other piece of the pie will pinpoint tactical solutions to address other aspects of that pie. So yeah, that's how I guess Spark Tank Coaching came about, from the mind of Arthur Kallos, trying to solve the problem of helping businesses have the leadership and skills that they need to grow to resolve the issue of a lack of new entrants in the industry.
It's great. And tell us a bit more, why the name Spark Tank?
Well, it's like I came back to the think tank, like the ideas hub, the solutions hub. I think it's synonymous with that kind of feel. The spark being, related to the business, but also, the spark is where things begin. It's the spark, and then from there, comes the flame, and the flame, you feed the flame, it becomes a fire, and the fire becomes a roaring blaze. And that's the whole kind of, it's actually from Mike Tyson's trainer. Like, you bring me a boy, and I'll, with a spark of interest, and I'll spark that turns into a flame, the flame into a fire, and the fire into a roaring blaze. And didn't he develop a roaring blaze in Mike Tyson, didn't he? But that didn't end too well. But that's because he lost his coach, didn't he?
True.
Cuss passed away, and that's when things kind of worked against what was arguably one of the greatest boxers in history. He lost that team.
Yep.
And he didn't have the support that he needed. He was trained to be a fighter, and he lost the way because he lost his mentors and his coaches. And so, yeah, that's probably why you need that team around you.
We all need direction. We all need guidance. We all need support. We all need cohesiveness and belongingness, team environment. And of course, then, coaching is one of those things that can all provide that. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Beautiful. If there is one final thing that you would love to share with financial planners that we didn't touch on yet, but it would be a golden nugget of advice that you absolutely unequivocally would want them to walk away with, what is it?
I think the message I was give them is to, it is a serious business, and what we do with massive, liability should things not be done correctly. Having said that, though, you've got to find a way to enjoy and find the fun in what you do, because what you do is extremely important, and what you do changes the lives of the people that you touch. So let's, as an industry, work hard to stick together, work together to, I guess, eradicate anyone that's not doing the right things by their clients, and to stand by the new code that's come out. But let's find the fun again in what we do, and do it well, and get back on the journey and stick at it.
Fantastic. Well, I certainly experienced the spark in this interview. We also mentioned earlier Kylie Denton, our colleague in Spark Tank Coaching. There is another interview that I conducted with her prior to this one here, and I'll also make sure that there's a link to that interview in the comment section below. So Arthur Kallos, it has been a pleasure as always.
Who's going to interview you, Bram?
Well, hopefully
I reckon you could interview yourself. You can have the Bram on one side and the other Bram on the other.
Oh yeah.
But maybe Kylie and I need to interview you so we can learn who you are.
Well, I'm happy to share as well. Now, I definitely had a lot of fun doing this one here. I appreciate your time, Arthur, as always, and look forward to next time. Also, for the viewers, any thoughts or questions, please post them below. We look forward to hearing from you, and like Arthur already said, collaborate with you in whatever capacity we can. So thank you for joining, and I wish you all a great day.